A Turk, a Frenchman, and an Englishman are traveling on a train. I had a version of this joke about a Chinese, Japanese and a Jewish samurai. The laughter hurt, but it was no skin off his back. It was unexpected. Nice. What does a fly penis even look like? Change it to a mohel. 100th year special, smiley face, Turkey. I've always heard the third as a rabbi. Are Turka famous for their circumcisions? I don't quite get that part. Almost all porn sites are financed by ads for other porn sites. They are snowballing. Notably, the free and paid sites are often owned by the same people. Which is why there are so many ads for browsers and some other sites owned by the same company on PH. For example, there's a noticeable malware game going wild behind the scenes, but maybe we ain't ready to discuss it yet. I do sometimes wonder if anyone would actually care if normal companies started posting ads on Pornhub. I thought snowballing was a niche porn category. Am I the only one getting penis enlargement pill ads? And they are still somehow less ad intrusive than YouTube. At the parole hearing, the officer asked, "Tell me, why should you be released early?" Inmate: "Pardon me? Bit of advice. This might read a little more clearly if you use dashes instead of ellipses. Dashes are more commonly used to show interruptions, which I think is what you're going for, while an ellipsis would indicate that he's intentionally pausing, which really throws off the joke. So something like it's back." Officer: "Yes, I can't believe that took me a second to get. Very clever." Lol and an eye rolls. "I'm not getting it." A prisoner who wants to serve the remainder of their sentence says, "What?" Inmate: "Well, fuck me in the ass." Nice. A double pun. Ah, so the parole office is sentenced instead. 13-year-old daughter got me with this one last night. Why can't witches get pregnant? They only go to goblin parties. A witch hit me up on my phone last night. Turned out she called her number. But what about those witches who reportedly get pregnant after a long spell? No one touches a cursed black kitty on Halloween. I don't get it. Smiley face. Can anyone explain? I know that I'm a dumb, but aren't they all? They spend all their time with a broomstick between their W. Your daughter deserves a medal. Sports medal. You are one lucky dad. Clapping hands. That's a good joke. A 70-year-old man goes into a brothel. He picks out a young pretty woman. An old man is walking down a city sidewalk when he is suddenly approached by asks him, "Hey baby, would you like some super sex?" Old man thinks for a moment and says, I guess I'll take the soup." I like where breathily says, "I'll do anything you want for $200. Fantastic, here you go, now paint my house." Ah, 94, old sailor engages a prostitute. They start up. Sailor: "How am I doing?" Prostitute: "You're going 3 knots. Sailor: "What do you mean?" Prostitute: "You're not hard, you're not in, and you're not getting your money back." Credit to the many Redditors before me. Great joke. First heard it with Ricky Fulton on a show called Scotch and Rye. Prostitute should work on her some yoga? A sexually frustrated gorilla sees a lion bent over a stream. Impressive that a jungle has a local paper. Okay, that made me chuckle. Good job. After a shit day, this is what I needed. Thanks. The gorilla, in full disguise, calls out, "You mean the one that fucked the lion up the ass?" The lion exclaims, "Oh my god, it's on Reddit already?" The gorilla answers, "Yes, it's even been reposted several times." I appreciate this version of the joke. Very creative. 10/10. Good old number 12. A husband and wife go to Jamaica for vacation. The name of that man's wife? Wendy. And the nun was in tea dressed as Batman. And the clerk was the bus driver. Later that day they are on the beach. A man comes out of the sea with his dick hanging down to his knee. The woman stares and then bursts out laughing. The now embarrassed man walks up to the woman and says, "Why are you laughing? Doesn't your husband shrink when he goes into the water?" Officer: "It was the shoes, I promise." I don't understand. On the wrong feet? Why does this joke take place in Jamaica? OMG, that's a good one. Any chance you know the name of that shop? Take my upvote in any case. What a baddie story. Great punchline. Didn't see it coming. This is straight fuckery. Delete this. It's better when it takes place in Mexico. Take them off, you got them on the wrong feet. SA: "Who wit me, moan?" This happened to my boss on his first trip to Trenchtown. A lot of people don't think teaching history is important, but witnessing an entire generation of people who aren't aware of historic facts and then form an opinion based on nothing more than propaganda and uninformed mouthpieces, makes you realize how truly necessary it is. This isn't a shower thought, it's what your history teacher spent 4 years trying to drill into your skull in high school. While I agree with you, this is unfortunately not a shower thought. The fact that the Philippines re-elected the son of a dictator and then tries to rewrite the history shows how history repeated itself. You don't know this. I read an article once that said the exact opposite of you. But for real, Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. History is crucially important. A man is dining in a fancy restaurant. Very good, even had my wife laughing. At first I was thinking this is too lengthy for a dad joke. But the punchline is pure dad joke gold. And if you're ever back in the area, I'll keep an eye out for you. Long. But so worth it. Ha 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 ha, okay, ha ha ha, that one was good, that one deserves out, dude. I'm in a meeting and laughing silently. Groan. Finally an actual dad joke. I didn't have a dad growing up, but my cousin Brad would always hunt me down to tell me a joke like this. Good nostalgia. Oh god. You earned my chuckle. Something told me to read this one. Glad I did. After dating a few months, the man gets his courage up. He tells the woman, I've got this irresistible urge to FCK your eye socket. Do you think we could try it? The woman thinks for a minute, then says, sure, I'll keep an eye out for you. A policeman goes home to his wife. Subtle first responder humor. Who came first, the fire dude or the cop guy? When I was a firefighter, it was common for cops and firefighters to try and one-up each other, good-natured, of course. I wish I had this joke back then. I got a cop neighbor that would love this. Why are firemen's balls bigger than police? They sell more tickets. I don't get it. Is his wife a fireman and he's put on her uniform by mistake? Wait, a cop goes home, but doesn't beat his wife? Strange. A policeman goes home to his wife, and is statistically there is a greater than 1 in 4 chance he beats her. A policeman goes home to his wife. That's where he went wrong. Oh my, smiley face. Ha. Good one, had me laughing even though I saw that punchline coming from a mile away. A sophisticated-looking lady was returning by plane from Switzerland. The customs officer asks, really, father, it's never been used? Priest says, my son, I've never once even been tempted to plug it in. I love it. A nice clean joke. Head to Google Epilator. That's a torture device. George Bush has a short one, Mikhail Gorbachev has a long one, Madonna doesn't have one, and the Pope doesn't use his. What is it? Last name. Damn. First time I had to use Google for a joke, because no one else has said it. An epilator works by grabbing the follicle and pulling out hair from its root. Never in my life have I ever heard the word epilator until right now. A teacher asks her class what their favorite letter is. The G in contains 100 gs beef. Is the difference between a great burger and a hot dog? Then Gary Oldman says mine is R miss. The same reason Count Dracula's favorite letter is O. I don't get it. Is this a reference to G as exclamation or to G as a short for grand, seeing as Angus is a Scottish name? Because G is the center of my name and it's the center spot of the vagina. Thanks you Nuke Dog. No way I was getting that punchline. Cheers Redditors, this is legit. As a Gary, my favorite letter is R, because when I'm a natural at finding that spot on girls, and they then all love me Angus. Also valid for people with traditional names like Clocksucker, Bulbark, and Micropenis. Lol. My favorite letter is J. I'd why. J gang rise up, dumb. I'm surprised how quickly I got this. My favorite letter is S. I have asked so many people what LGBTQ stands for. Let's get burritos, tacos and quesadillas. Liquor, guns, bacon, tits and quesadillas. The A stands for again and again. Let's go biryani time? Still can't get this straight. Why is the upvote shining? Let's get brass dorks quick. Let's get beer, tacos, and quesadillas, fuck yeah. Let's go back to queer. Lettuce, guacamole, bacon, tomato, queso. Liquid garlic, bacchanalian, toke warts. Let's get Biden to quit. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, intersex and asexual. Didn't even need to see the comments before downvoting because this joke has been posted dozens of times here. Lesbian, gay, bi, trans community. You mean logged casts, right? LeBron giving back to communities. Please tell me I'm not the only one who knows that line. Lettuce, green bean, tree, croissant. I'm Frank Lance, founding chair of the NYU Game Center, designer of a bunch of games including Universal Paperclips, Drop 7, and Hey Robot, and author of The Beauty of Games. AMA. I love games, but sometimes I feel like the essential nature of all games, and the reason I keep playing them, is that they are operant conditioning chambers, essentially unpredictable reward-giving machines, and that makes me feel like a sad dumb pigeon. Should it? Do you have any advice for game development educators in terms of providing students with the experience of working on large code bases? I find that often in the classes I'm teaching that the students are working on very small, bespoke indie projects, which from a coding standpoint is a very different experience than working within an established code base. I'm a little envious of men because their arousal shows. I wish it was only when I was aroused. Trust me, it can be an inconvenience. Well, I'm aroused 24/7 and have learned to tame my beast to not rise its mighty 1.4 inches unless I command it to. Grass is always greener on the other side. Lol, don't think you'd be as envious when you realize how much judgment and pressure towards performance comes from such an obvious dipstick for attraction. I'd die if I could have somebody actually try to caress me and entice me to get me wet, instead of getting upset that I didn't spring a boner the second they flash their tits. Getting hard doesn't always mean arousal. It's a biological reaction, not so much a psychological one. It's actually inconvenient and uncomfortable, as can actually hurt too if it's unwanted. And trust me, we get a lot of random unsolicited boners. My friend couldn't afford to pay for his water bill. I prefer dry humor. Deep, man. Deep. 16th century well. Nice one. How shallow. I don't dig this. We all float down here. Is that the whole joke? So, true story. I moved in with my GF now wife 6 years ago. She bought a house a few years prior. She had an account with over $500 in it for a water bill she never got. She thought she was getting free water and was acting like she won some water lottery. She had a well. Thai joke was subpar. What are you doing? He was probably underwater. Well played. Sounds like he is bit of a drip. Well, I bet he had one. He just couldn't see that well. Bro needs more liquidity. Hope he doesn't get hosed. Well, in that case, briefcase. My niece told me this Halloween joke. This is some Laffy Taffy level shit. I am here for it 100. I love it. I told the first one to my husband and got to further my dad joke rep. Boo poo. Ha ha ha. She's quite funny type for the laugh. Spooky dookie will now be part of my vocabulary. A spooky dookie sounds like a crap that just won't budge. Ha ha ha. I guess when nature calls in a haunted bathroom, you're in for a creepy pee-pee or a spooky dookie. It's all about embracing the spirit of Halloween. Ghost. Jack-o'-lantern. Your niece has a bright future. Winner. Solid gold. Why do haunted houses do? Has seen this on TikTok. Has 1,000-yard stare. My wife told me that every time we have sex, we put $5 in jar for a future vacation. My lady does the same thing, except it's $200 and I have to pay her in advance. His jar's empty, hers has enough money inside to travel the world twice. My wife and I have sex almost every day. Almost on Monday, almost on Tuesday. Now, after all these years, we have enough to go camping in the backyard. So what are you going to spend the $5 on? Rodney Dangerfield joke. My wife and I have a cigarette after sex. I got the same pack since 1975, and she's up to 3 packs a day. My grandfather told me this joke on my wedding day. My boy, during your first year of marriage, every time you have sex, put a jelly bean in the jar. After your first year of marriage, every time you have sex, eat a jelly bean from the jar. You'll never go hungry. My wife told me that men wearing camouflage are sexy. Oh dear, that got me good. There has to be a hidden meaning to this joke. Been hiding out again in the jungle now, have we? Haha, that joke made me gilly. Sounds like she's ready for some grunt work. I always write camouflage as NBSP 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 NBSP. Smiley face. It was there all the time, hiding in plain sight. You're in the army now. Hey, you're in the army now. That's what she said. Neither does she. She wants to military your clothes off. I'm suspect of men who like camels. What a cryptic message she sent. Only if you're in the military. I don't know what she sees in them. They've never got a buck or have any dough. She was referring to the guy hiding in the bushes just outside your bedroom window. Till Ernie Hudson, who played Winston Zeddemore in the Ghostbusters movies, was rejected from a role in the Ghostbusters cartoons because they thought he didn't sound like Winston Zeddemore. Something something Charlie Chaplin something something third place, from the article. So I went in to read the material, and the guy said, no, that's all wrong when Ernie Hudson did it in the movie. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I am Ernie Hudson. Well, they got Garfield to voice Venkman, so maybe something else was going on. I heard Marvel Disney didn't approach Dave Bautista for the What If cartoon series to reprise Drax. Hollywood is weird. They also really cut down Ernie's role in the movie. He was going to be ex-military with demo experience. Though he is a great everyman in the film. Till the Harvard University acceptance rate is higher than applying to be a NYC sanitation worker. Same with Walmart text getting 20 into 20. Harvard 20 is 20 truly, means 20 just 202.6 25 20 were 20 accepted. Having a lower acceptance rate than if it is people are applying to Walmart and NYC sanitation because unemployment usually requires people to apply for work. This is one of those meaningless pairs of facts that appear like it's one fact through casual association. Best of the best of the best, sir. Theo Von just had a podcast with a NYC worker. Harvard cycles out a couple thousand students every 4 years. Most sanitation workers stay on the job for decades until they retire, so there are way less spots open for new people. You have to leave Harvard after a certain point, but you can leave your job whenever you want. Till a person called Andreas Mihevec holds the record of surviving the longest without any food or liquids. He was forgotten in a basement jail cell in Austria in 1979, 18 days. Do you know what pissed me off the most about this poor man's 3 policemen who were responsible for him each thought that the others had already freed him. So also ignored his mother's pleas for his whereabouts. He was only discovered by chance when another officer opened his cell for an unrelated reason. Shitty way to win a world record. It's wild that even after the mother came and asked the police about her son's whereabouts, nobody clued in and remembered where he was, nor thought to go have a look in the cells. Shit you can do when you're 18, damn. Doesn't condensed water count as liquid though? Austrians do love putting people in basements. That prison guard's name? Joseph Fritzl. Till a sheepdog named Casper fought for over 30 minutes against 11 coyotes who were threatening his flock, killed 8 of them, and survived with a severe neck wound and a missing tail. Casper scampered off after the fight, but he returned injured 2 days, was taken to an emergency vet, where doctors discovered that he had a severe neck wound that required. Owner said that Casper was doing his job and that he was not a normal dog. He also said that he would let him retire from herding if he wanted to, but he thought that Casper would want to get back to his purpose. Time to take out the trash. Casper, you hope it never comes to it, but this is what you have them for. Get him a donkey buddy when he's ready to go back. That way he doesn't have to be alone. Good boy. Inaccurate headline: a sheepdog is a dog used to herd and move sheep, like border collies. This dog is a guardian dog, used to protect and defend. Till in 1998, a group that was aiming to save historic properties started renovating Ben Franklin's London home. In the process, they found a hidden, no-window room beneath his garden that had the remains of 15 individuals. Franklin was a noted revolutionary and powerful Freemason, the Grand Master of Masons of Pennsylvania, so it's easy to wonder what dark secrets Franklin may have hidden in his basement chamber. But the truth, it turns out, isn't quite so dark. The most plausible explanation is not mass murder, but an anatomy school run by Benjamin Franklin's young friend and protege, William Hewson, said The Guardian in 2003. Most people have skeletons in their closets. Ben had a dedicated room. Mr. 3 can keep a secret if 2 are dead, himself. Till in 2006, Quiznos sent mystery shoppers to franchise stores and sued owners for not putting enough meat in a prime rib sandwich. The owners won a lawsuit against Quiznos, with the judge calling Quiznos' meat weighing exercise a charade to bolster its national ad campaign against Subway. It's amazing how Quiznos destroyed subs were so much better than Subway, and there's no reason why they couldn't have done well enough to still be around. God, Quiznos was so good. It pisses me off how horribly the company was managed. I liked Quiznos taste-wise, but they were horrible to their franchise owners. You know, the people who actually keep the company alive. I hope all these recent Quiznos posts are viral marketing for a comeback. Till in the 1950s, Temple University and the city of Philadelphia disinterred an entire cemetery to expand Temple's campus and dump 28,000 headstones into the river. The gang desecrates a graveyard. This wasn't all that uncommon. When my great-great-grandparents' church wasn't demolished, in the 1930s, the bodies in the attached cemetery were disinterred and placed in a mass grave in another, larger cemetery. Probably explains their success at football. San Francisco moved thousands of bodies to Colma and repurposed the headstones. The famous mummies of Guanajuato in Mexico are not ancient, as I'd originally thought. Some of them are from the 1950s, and were disinterred and put on display when their families couldn't pay the rent. Till it took 15 years and 5,127 prototypes before James Dyson shipped his first vacuum cleaner. And a word of warning from me. The Dyson ball cleaner should not be used as its name suggests. Limps off. I call BS. That's almost a prototype a day. There's 5,478 days in 15 years depending on where the leap days are. Meaning he'd have to make almost 1 prototype a day, every day for 15 years. Including weekends. Including holidays. I call bullshit. And one Brexit he campaigned for before fucking off to Singapore. The two-faced cunt. Fuck him. Made a big thing of being British and still does, but moved manufacturing to the Far East as soon as he could. Shame he still can't make a decent hand dryer. Damn, I wish I could afford to make 5,127 prototypes. How many more years till we get a Dyson Sphere? Till modern vehicular cruise control was invented by a blind inventor and mechanical engineer, Ralph Teeter, due to being frustrated by his driver's habit of speeding up and slowing down as he talked. It's so annoying when people are on the highway and are constantly changing their speed, so I have to keep adjusting my cruise control. The Smithsonian link somewhat discredits the idea. Family lore holds that the jerky accelerator foot of Harry Lindsay, Teeter's patent attorney, friend and frequent chauffeur, originally inspired cruise control. More likely, there were other influences. That moment when your driving is so bad a blind guy is able to help you do better. Till my mom used to drive for a blind inventor. Though, she pumps the accelerator like she's playing the hi-hat. Now we just need something for people who speed up to a red traffic light and then hit the brakes at the last at you bus drivers. So annoying. Till real doctors from USC Medical Center were recruited to play the doctors who try to save ET because Spielberg felt that actors talking about technical medical matters didn't seem natural. A bit similar to this, the guy who plays David Wallace in The Office US was a real financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. Apparently he kept working in finance full-time while they were filming The Office. On a similar note, the medical examination at the end of Captain Phillips was conducted by a real Navy corpsman and improvised the scene with Tom Hanks. The PA announcers in Airplane were the real PA announcers for LAX. As someone who works in the OR, I have to call out Dr. Strange going through a proper sterile scrub and gowning in the first scene, all just to put his mask on with his sterile hands. Lol. Still, that the US Army disposed of banned chemical weapons and munitions through a program called Chase Cutholes and Sink Chem, where the chemicals were loaded on a ship that was then purposely sank in the ocean. Operation Fuck It Not My Problem, thus solving the problem once and for all. My country, New Zealand, built a whole bunch of chemical weapons to use in case the Japanese invaded. Guess how we disposed of them? USS Shitdropper. I worked in the nuclear industry for a few years and we had a saying: dilution is the solution. Why don't other countries do this for their pollutants? Are they stupid? Humans are cool, not to say but what about? But Russia will take their nuke sub-container and slice off the nuclear compartment, take it out to sea and then dump it in the everybody laughs about hearing a beast rise from the ocean depths. It may just happen. USS Universal Sea Sullying. And thus the US Atlantis War started. Till that within 5 years of Dr. Seuss' death, his widow sold Seuss theme park rights to Universal Studios, multimedia rights to living books and film rights to Steven Spielberg. Jim Henson's son remarked that her business practices were oversaturating the market. As part of the bidding process, which included Tom Shadyac, the Farrelly brothers, Gary Ross and John Hughes, each interested party needed to pay $3 million to secure a meeting with Geisel. I didn't realize that Seuss' first wife committed suicide because he was having an affair with this lady. Huh? She died in La Jolla. I guess that's why the UCSD library is named Geisel Library. I'm guessing it only cost a few million in donations. Till the Quiznos sandwich chain, once a common sight with its catchy slogan, Coasty and 4,700 locations in 2007, suffered a steep decline and closed over 90 of its stores within the following 10 years. This event goes down in industry history as the largest and swiftest collapse. Wasn't it a bit of a pyramid scheme in the end? Quiznos was my favorite sub place. They've got a pepper bar. As entertaining as the little hamster nugget homunculi things were, it was probably the least appetizing advertising campaign I've ever sat through beginning to end, and never once made me crave Quiznos. I think I maybe ate there one time during those years, and that was because my friend got me free food. This made me realize that I have not seen a Quiznos in years. Till the USS Kidd is the only US Navy ship permitted to fly the Jolly Roger. That first crew of the Kidd began calling themselves the Pirates of the Pacific, picking up downed naval aviators and returning them to their carriers in exchange for a ransom of ice cream and the war in the Pacific. Name a more iconic pair. That initial USS Kidd, which served the US Navy off and on until 1964, is now a museum. USS Kidd is docked in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The Apple TV movie Greyhound starring Tom Hanks was filmed on it. Royal Navy submarines traditionally fly the Jolly Roger on returning to port after sinking an enemy vessel. Most recent occurrence was HMS Conqueror after sinking the Belgrano in the Falklands War. Till the ahead of the US invasion of Grenada 40 years ago, the Pentagon knew so little about the country, it had to plan the invasion using maps normally sold to tourists. These pre-internet war planners also had to buy issues of The Economist, so they could get some kind of intelligence. On the only did we have to refer to the media for military intelligence, we had to use British media. Just a normal tourist visit. Get me Rick Steves on the phone ASAP. Hey! We were drawing maps of Iraq in 1991 on clear acetate using grease pencil. When I think of Grenada, I think of Bill Hader in this SNL puppet sketch. And the movie about it lasted longer than the invasion. Till the former CEO of Nissan fled Japan in 2019 by hiding in an audio equipment box. Didn't emails get leaked that people inside Nissan were actually trying to frame him? He remains free while those who helped him escape are in jail. I just hate when I forget to declare $140 million worth of foreign income to the IRS. The large box carrying gun was never x-rayed or checked by customs officials. because it was too big to fit inside the X-ray machine. There's an excellent Netflix series called The Fugitive about him. Interesting watch. He would have escaped too if not for the subwoofer who sniffed him out at the airport. Go and claim that he would no longer be held hostage by a rigged Japanese justice system where guilt is presumed, discrimination is rampant and basic human rights are denied. Japanese justice system in a nutshell. Plus, he's gaijin. He was right to bail, huh? Just a box. The teeth that fell out of your mouth during childhood are still out there somewhere. The tooth fairy took mine. I don't know where she lives. Lol, it's somewhere in a dumpster landfill somewhere now. My mother saved them. They're in a box with all my baby childhood pictures, so technically you'd be able to find them and put them back in your mouth and chew them. X200B. FTFY. The tooth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth. They crumble eventually. Yep, in a doll my mom made me. Got a whole lot of mine since I was a frequent orthodontic patient in my youth. They smell really bad and are covered in metal lol. I still have most of my children's baby teeth in my jewelry box. An old Nordic tradition is to carve a high-backed stool kubbestool out of a single large round of wood. Then hammer human baby teeth into the seat. The baby teeth were meant to act as talismans that would alleviate the tooth pain of whoever sat on the chair. Cute, huh? The Three Musketeers are always depicted using swords instead of, muskets. Part of it is because back then muskets were large and dangerous weapons. Suitable for a battlefield but not the streets of Paris. And sword fights just look better on screen. This is the premise of one of my favorite jokes. Have you ever noticed the Three Musketeers are called musketeers but you never see them with muskets? They're always carrying those little swords. I guess the Three Rapiers just doesn't have the same ring to it. Yeah, because three stabby dudes don't roll off the tongue. They shot the muskets recently and haven't found enough time to reload them yet. The gunpowder would make the candy bars taste weird. There's a young couple that's down on their luck and don't have enough money for rent. She was just jerking around. Well, with that size of a DCK he better answered a blowjob? Now that I can do myself. Good one. Talk about a big twist in the plot. I wish my cock was that small. Sorry, I don't get it. So she wanted to pay him for a blowjob? What? What are the best or most underrated NSFW subs? Op is fighting for his life on page 3000 of Pornhub. Ain't no way. He deleted his account. My guy deleted his account. This post must have really got him good. Arosha has some insane NSFW content. Op, hey guys, what are you jacking off to today? Bro deleted his account because of this. Argoth sluts. Argon Wild Stories is another one. Porn addict. Arno fans. That is an incredibly relative term. My best is probably your worst. Sex is like flavors. Everyone has their own palate. I love habanero and you may hate it. Our autocunlingus is interesting, that's for sure. Why is there 2,515 people here? Skull. Our normal nudes. Our scrubs gone wild. Don't mind me. Just cruising through, sampling the best offerings in this thread. What are the quiet luxury brands that only the super rich know about? Tailors on Savile Row. Wealthy people get their clothes custom made. Jeff Goldblum was on the Conan podcast and talked about where he got his jeans. It was from this hard-to-find shop in New York that not many people had heard of. Come to find out, not surprisingly, their jeans are insanely expensive and only the very rich could afford them. John Law Bootmaker in St. James. Make beautiful handmade shoes for royalty. Celebrities and rich are well known but not a household name. Loro Piana is an example, but I was wondering what other brands like this are out there. Emmels. They are one of the best super yacht manufacturers in the world with over 100 years of experience. Target. What celebrity can you picture being a Reddit user? Henry Cavill 100 visits WoW and Warhammer subreddits. Like, not a theory, he's mentioned it. I can see Bill Hader scrolling through. Jack Black, Elijah Wood, Bo Burnham. I didn't picture it, but Reddit is mainstream and an advertising platform. I still like when Gov Schwarzenegger turns up to give advice to people, and also Reali Rickosley is just such a great people have used Reddit. Glenn Howerton has said he's used Reddit before. Feel like the rest of the Izape cast does too. Smiley face. Will Wheaton. If my grandma is on here then anyone really. But definitely Pedro Pascal, Kristen Bell, Post Malone. Perfect age to have been on Reddit in high school and probably even 4chan. I mean, there's quite a few who post here openly. If you mean anonymously, then Nick Offerman is definitely here incognito. Jonah Hill has mod vibes. What college major do you think gets made fun of the most? Why? Communication major. Was always telling that people were taking an easy major and didn't know what they wanted to do. I always see fine arts majors getting roasted. Fine arts is a very difficult field to actually get into. The job market is always insanely saturated. That or they want to be a freelance artist and think their kooky take on modern art is worth millions. Criminal justice. Everyone who takes it thinks that is the way into the CIA, FBI, etc., but those organizations hire out of STEM. They should rename it prison guarding, correctional officer, lol, because that's where they all end up. What decision by a company received the most amount of backlash from the public? When the Triangle Shirtwaist Company locked the stairwell doors in the garment factory that caught fire and killed 146 women and children workers in 1911. The public outcry led to legislation improving working conditions for factory workers. Microsoft got roasted when they announced Kinetic and Always Online were required for the Xbox One. Took all the momentum they had from the 360 era and put them miles behind Sony. Tumblr removing porn was not a sound decision. Anyone remember the Kendall Jenner Pepsi ad when she solved police brutality? Sonic having human teeth. I feel like whatever YouTube is cooking up lately will be the next one. Remember that comment on Reddit by EA that got downvoted to oblivion? Yeah, that one. Wizards of the Coast trying to revoke the OGL. What do you call a flock of sheep falling down a hill? Avalanche. Only in Scotland, where the men are men and the sheep are scared. Way to ram it home. Keep moving, there's mutton to see here. Watch out, so you don't get buried. You know how they got clean after sliding down the hill? They took a bath. Waking up the sheeple. I took my lamb and I took it down. Smiley face. This joke is BAAD. Oh, you, a flock of sheep? The only reason why I don't eat sheep is because it tastes bad. Why did the ram run off the mountain? He didn't see the U-turn. Bad luck. Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Z. Hilarious, so hilarious. Wooling down the hill. The sheer terror. Counting that made me sleepy. This will be funnier if they were riding a lamb. I can't fathom the ramifications of this. What do you call a woman with one leg shorter than the other, and she works at IHOP? What do you call a guy with no shin bones? Tony. Her sister Peg has a wooden leg. Have you got the t-shirt with I came on Eileen on the front? I wouldn't call her. She won't come anyways since she can only walk in circles. Asian woman with same? Irene. If she's only got one leg. Peg. She has a cow with two legs shorter than the other. It's lean beef. Her sister Nolene has no legs. She has two brothers. Philip owns a gas station and Mike is a sound engineer. What was the guy's name who ran off on his prostitute bill? Humphrey. My name. If you're saying I lean to her, wouldn't that mean you're the one who's leaning? I like to come on Eileen. In Japan she is Irene. I see you, winking face. She's married to my uncle Stumpy. He used to be an alligator wrestler. What do you call it when a zombie hands you a gift? Of course it is. Presently a decomposition. The funeral parlor lawn sale. You're just eating my brains out. It's a no-brainer, there's a catch in earned interest. The fun part is that you get to keep the hand, too. Fly bait. A handoff. He took a wrong urn at an intersection. Yeah, but what was the gift? Brains. This joke is killing me. Thanks Zombie. Squilliam laugh intensifies. An undead giveaway. What is one experience you think every single human should have? Seeing the stars from somewhere with minimal light pollution. Pictures can't capture it, words fail to express it. Loving parents. Changes your entire life. Facing repercussions for their actions. Hugging and cuddling with someone you love. To watch a sunrise in complete solitude and just observe and experience the birth of a new day. Realization that at some point your parents don't have all the answers anymore. Love. Being profoundly wrong about something important to you. Accepting that fact and growing from it positively. Your parents' complete trust in you. Fucking changes your life and how you view yourself quite significantly. Travel solo. It's a truly amazing experience and you'll discover so much about yourself. Parents who care about you and accept you without creating expectations before you're even real. Not having this fuck up your life. Swimming in the ocean. To be beloved. What is one piece of advice a 40-year-old can give to people in their early 30s? Stretch thoroughly every morning. It's crazy how much better you feel throughout the day. Don't fall into the consumerism trap that convinces you to always have the latest greatest thing. For example, if your car, phone, laptop is in good working order, you don't need a new one. Your parents are about to get really old shockingly fast, so if you have good ones, enjoy them now. Work on your health. Especially core and healthy, my friends. Go at your own pace, not your peers' pace. Be more content with where you are now. Don't stop exercising. If you don't, start immediately. It get way harder later. In 100 years no one will even know you existed. Enjoy yourself. Be kind. Learn something new every day. Lessen the suffering of others and don't underestimate the effect of doing a little every day towards your goals. What is the richest thing you've seen someone casually do? I work at a thrift store and there is a woman who brings us a perfectly good and expensive mattress every month. I thought she is maybe a mattress store owner or something, but when I asked she said that she just likes to sleep on a clean mattress, so she buys a new one every month. A set of 8th grade twins at the international school I taught at in Singapore took an Emirates first class suite to France for the weekend to see their football team play. Their team. They owned it. I mentioned this at some point in the past, but it still blows my mind. A buddy of mine was working the front desk at a hotel in the Florida Keys, and a guest left him his boat as a tip. When we checked, wasn't a crappy little job boat either. It was a practically brand new boat, on a trailer, that would easily go for $200,000 today. What makes you roll your eyes every time you hear it? Whenever you're at a large function for work with a speaker in the morning and there's this exchange. Speaker: good morning everyone. Everyone: good morning. Speaker: oh, looks like we haven't had our coffee yet. I said good morning everyone. Everyone: good morning. When someone says, I'll be ready in 5 minutes, and you know you have time to watch a Lord of the Rings marathon before they're actually ready. I was going to join the military, but I'd punch the first sergeant who yelled at me. Sure, kid. Whatever you say, and go. In Facebook posts where people want to be spammed with info. When someone posts something political and calls everyone triggered for simply disagreeing with the post. Influencer. Espresso. What song do you consider listening to a form of torture? Any of the songs that get played in popular TikTok videos while my wife is watching them beside me. That "Oh No No No" song made me want to stab myself in the ear with a knife. Those TikTok sound effects. You know, the ones you hear on the kid playing them on full volume in the bus to work. I cannot stand that This Is My Fight song, Take Back My Life song tune. I think this is squarely the province of Yoko Ono. Baby Shark, Cars 4 Kids jingle. See Bat. That Poor Woman, Flowers by Miley Cyrus. The chorus is engraved in my brain. Hey Soul Sister, just because there's a telecom company called Movistar that used to put this song while you were on hold. It was annoyingly saturated and on loop. I physically gag every time I hear that song. Dance Monkey. What term do you use for a woman receiving oral sex? Eating out. I usually call them by their name. Splunking. Colonel Angus. Lucky. Mouth to South. Cooch Smooch. Aussie French Kiss. Just like a French kiss but down under. Quite the mouthful. Winking face. Going down eating pussy. Revolving hearts. Lickety split. I haven't seen anyone say muff diving yet. The recipient is a cunnilingus, playing the fuzzy harmonica. Carpet muncher. Taco Tuesday. No matter what day it is, I would just say that it's called getting head. Head. Mustache ride. Wet mustache. Cunnilinguini. Dessert. Getting face. Oral or going down. I guess rug munching is not a term used much anymore. Getting her pussy ate. Taco shelling. Eating at the Y. My wife and I nicknamed it ice cream back when we were dating. How about some ice cream after the movie? Pearl diving. A happy dark rose 92. Lucky. What that can't happen to me thing happened to you. 4-year-old got cancer. Absolute hell of a last 18 months, but she's headed closer towards full recovery. My brother-in-law had a psychotic break after going off his medication, which he hid from us, and killed my sleeping father, then himself. Perfectly normal the night before, we were laughing and talking and he asked if I would make a certain meal for dinner the next day. 8 hours later, our family was shattered. Got breast cancer at age 38. It's metastatic. I'm 4 years in, both parents dying before I turned 30. I was an innocent bystander shot in the chest during a drive-by. My dad committed murder-suicide. Both my cars were stolen. My car first, but they also had keys to our house and we were scared, so we were staying with her parents for a few weeks. We came back to get some clothes and in the 5 minutes we were there they stole her car. What unethical experiment do you think would be interesting if conducted? Clone a known serial killer. Make let's say 2 dozen or so. Intentionally raise them in a variety of environments including the one they were raised in. Track how many if any become killers. Testing the nature versus nurture argument. Raising a child in a completely 1960s themed atmosphere and then abruptly exposing them to the modern world when they are between the ages of 15 and 18. All this stuff about forbidding doping and steroids. What if we take one professional sport, and just say go nuts, take it all? Backed by actual doctors and scientists, paid by big S. See how many absurd ways we can push the human body. What can it really do, when pushed to the extreme? Cycling or MMA would be preferred. What's a food nobody can ever convince you is any good? Lutefisk, the cheese with the maggots in it. But I'll eat just about anything else. Balloit, bulltedisels, balloit, chitlins, organs in general, intestines, testicles, brain. You name it. Liver. Any kind of liver. It doesn't matter how you prepare and cook it. It's still the garbage filter system of an animal's body and it shows in the flavor. Candy circus peanuts. Take all of them and fire them into the sun. Surströmming. But nobody's really trying to convince of that either. Chicken feet. Sea urchin. I keep hearing it is amazing. Supposedly it is a delicacy. All kinds of fancy sushi with urchin and it is amazing, or not. I have been universally disappointed and a bit revolted. I did have a sushi chef at an acclaimed place tell me to come in actually this month, and if I didn't like what he had, then it was definitive that I don't like it. Liver. What's the best yo mama joke? Yo mama's so ugly the burglars break into her home, just to close the blinds. Yo mama's so ugly, her portraits hang themselves. Yo mama so fat, when she fell in the pool, water was discovered on Mars. Yo mama so fat she's on both sides of the family. Yo mama so fat when she takes a shower her feet don't get wet. Yo mama so fat her polo shirt has a real horse on it. Yo mama so fat, the sorting hat put her in the Waffle House. Yo mama so fat, when she skips a meal, the stock market drops. Yo mama so slow, it took her 9 months to make a joke. Yo mama so ugly your dad takes her to work so he doesn't have to kiss her goodbye. Your mama so fat, she makes memory foam want to forget. Yo mama so ugly her blowjobs count as anal. Yo mama so hairy, Bigfoot takes pictures of her. Yo mama's so fat when I pictured her in my head that bitch broke my neck. What's the best thing about transphobia? Slow clap. I wonder how many comments are going to be removed by moderators because of this joke. 45 minutes later I'm the first response, take my upvote. Do trans people care for this? Do not. But we still don't know if it's all trans people, or just one in particular. This made me laugh lol. I'm a call guys heterophobic. I think an interesting experiment would be to poll random people on the street, should biological women be allowed in women's sports? Just to see how many people have a knee-jerk opinion about the topic without understanding it. Savage. It's funny how all the people who are now so obsessed with the integrity of women's sports didn't care a damn bit about them before they involved trans people. Dang. Smiley face. Yes, cheating is totally cool as long as you are a minority. As someone with a trans daughter I have seriously mixed feelings here. What's the sluttiest thing you've done? Not me, but a woman I dated. She was a graphic novel artist. A few days after we had sex the first time, she sent me a 5-page comic she'd drawn that detailed everything we did that night. And I mean everything. Disclaimer, remember all these people posting are at least 4x uglier than you are picturing in your head. Ate half of a tub of ice cream in one sitting. Her name was Madison. Went to a bar with a high school friend when I passed through my hometown. Got pissed drunk and picked up a smoking hot like rabbits all night. She and I wrapped around each other like pretzels butt naked. Woke up in the morning, on my buddy's sofa with her, and I didn't even know her buddy was married and thought it was fucking awesome. His wife was pissed that he allowed it to happen. He got divorced shortly, don't know what her name was. She wanted to be the dominant one for once. We established the safe word and we both had a great time. What's your favorite shitty movie that you'll defend to the edges of the earth? Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Rat Race. Out Cold. Best snowboarding movie and a great comedy. Young Zach Galifianakis is great in it. It's very cheesy and is your typical late 90s early 00s movie. A lot of great one-liners. I watch it every year before our annual snowboarding trip. UHF. Waterworld. Kevin Costner and Dennis Hopper. It's amazing. Grandma's Boy. It's a marvel of modern cinema and my favorite movie of all. Everyone's saying Grandma's Boy isn't shitty. It's great. I agree, it is great, but it's also obvious that they had a pretty low budget, which I think actually makes it better. Not another teen movie. It's legit. We all forget Chris Evans graces us as a banana split. Ernest Scared Stupid. Eurotrip. Blue Streak is a classic. I've seen it 100 times and I watch it every time I come across it on TV. What's your worst not proudest fat? You, the guy that posted us few minutes ago, about the most underrated NSFW son? Came back with regrets, huh? When I was in high school and helping my mom set up her new apartment after my parents split. No internet for the first week, so in my desperation I sloppily drew a pair of tits on MS Paint and went at it like a fucking heathen. Grinch porn in the 6th grade. I know the actual video name by heart. I'm so depressed. I jerked off in the school bathroom when I was in 9th or 10th grade. I remember getting back to class and this girl, Jen, noticed a little stain on my pants and asked if I just jerked off in the bathroom. When you're balls deep in a pool, you're actually not very deep in the pool. I don't think you're understanding that expression correctly. I'm not very deep in anything when I'm balls deep. Tell me what you think this expression is referencing. I'm curious to know. Funny story, I, too, had never really thought about what this phrase meant and didn't realize its implication until the moment I said it in front of my boss in reference to a project I was working on. Still cringe at that almost weekly. 2 years later. Yes, but in chilly water you'd reach a very important threshold. I think it means all the way in, if you think about it. Oh sweet summer child. It's actually measured horizontally. True. But when I'm balls deep in your mom, I'm still not very deep in. Unless you are on your back. Unless it's a girl named Pool. You're just expected to follow and know the law, especially once you turn 18. To be fair, 90 of laws just come down to don't be a dick. Vehicle laws are ambiguous on purpose, so if something sketchy seems to be going on, it's easy to find a reason for any of the rest are fairly stupid things that most cops aren't going to enforce anyway cause they don't know them. Not being a dick and not doing things that actively harm a person physically, mentally, emotionally or their property covers most of the things that are illegal. Redditors: when society expects stuff from you. Pensive face, sleepy face. Fun fact, the police are not legally obligated to know the law they enforce. You also don't get taught it. With most legal systems, good luck even finding all of it, even if you did want to read it all. If you are 17.5 years old and don't know how to behave, well, that's on you. All 20 million pages of it. Should we not be expected to follow the law? What is a great show that got cancelled for no good reason? Gotta say Mindhunter. Really seemed like one of the only shows that Netflix actually dragged their feet on cancelling, seeming to hope Fincher would return to it. Lie to me. The show always did well, but not quite well enough to keep its spot safe and secure. And unfortunately after season 3, despite it still being pretty good ratings-wise, it just lost the coin flip. Pushing Daisies. Deadwood. Those HBO cocksuckers. Dead Like Me. Mystery Science Theater 3000 was cancelled because the new CEO didn't like it. Turned out no one liked any of the new CEO's decisions. Basically any Netflix series that people want to keep watching. Freaks and Geeks. Jericho. Better Off Dead. Happy endings. I would pour thousands into a reboot just to get Casey Wilson and Eliza Coupe back on my screen. For everyone making six figures, what do you do for work? Aircraft mechanic. Lawyer. Immediately upon graduation at age 26 or whatever. But it put me $250,000 in debt and the work destroyed my life for a long time. Still recovering. If someone gave me a magic reset button, I would not take that path again. People should be listing their age here as well. Pharmacist. Software developer. To answer another commenter's question, I usually work 30-40 hours a week. Make reports from databases, mostly. That and related analysis, helping users use the software, help design how well configure software, test it, etc. I own a house painting company. 20-30 hours a week of manual labor a week and about 10 of office paperwork. 2 employees. I'm a court reporter stenographer in the US. Accounting. For ladies, what's the thing that makes a man hot for you? The normal things making me laugh, being kind to animals, children, kind caring eyes. The things I didn't expect until I got older: back of a man's hands, the way he stands when idle, when they talk about something that excites them and they can make that thing interesting, when he is passionate about something and feels no shame in it. Especially the more nerdy things. I can listen to someone for hours, hearing him talk about a book or a game, even if I know nothing about it. The eye sparkle and excitement in explaining it to me is very hot. If he's got 100 completion on RDR2, the kind of confidence that makes it clear he's completely comfortable in his skin. That he doesn't have anything to prove by challenging or putting other people down. Enough confidence that he can be silly sometimes without shame. That plus a sharp wit that makes me laugh. Be still my heart. For some reason it feels like a 7/10 rating is average. People rate and grade on a 7/10 is average. 5/10 is considered bad, and everything below it is just considered varying degrees of more bad. If you want a more meaningful metric, cut it in half and round that 7/10 So middling, but in a more positive light than negative. It is. People wishing with surveys know it for a long time. American schools brought us up to say C is average and anything lower is failing. I imagine that's where it comes from. IGN ruined the 7/10 for me. People rate movies way higher than they should and also think they have better taste than they do. Haha. Most people aren't genuinely ugly. People hear average and they think that's bad. How did your parents fuck you up? By expecting me to be the adult before I was even a teenager. I wouldn't call it fuck me up, but I would say they taught me in an indirect way on how not to deal with anxiety. Abandoned me, basically just left me at the hospital. I found out when I was 18 I was a black market baby, basically sold and illegally adopted. The woman that I call mother wanted me because she seen a child that needed love and had no one. She treated me with nothing but love. I miss you, Mom. My value was only measured in how well I did in school. It didn't matter if I was miserable and people bullied me, by raising me in a super toxic environment. Never learned to ask for help, feel shame when I do, try to keep all my emotions to myself and just be stoic. It's exhausting. How do you invite someone over ages 25-35 to your apartment in the evening without leading them to think sex is on the table? Just tell them. A little awkward versus a potential lot awkward. Tell them sex is on the bed. Hey, do you want to come over tonight for a platonic hangout? One time this girl I was seeing invited me over really late and she said, just so you know, sex isn't going to happen, and then I didn't expect sex. We did end up having sex though, which was particularly rad because I didn't expect it. I hope this is helpful. Invite several friends. In any adult relationships, in order to avoid confusion from either side, you should just be upfront. I know this is easier said than done, but it will save a lot of time and miscommunication in the long run. I am an employment attorney representing the dancers that sued Lizzo and a sexual harassment victim suing Jason Derulo. Here to respond to any employment-related questions. Ask me anything about your workplace rights. You're obviously a very successful attorney with years of experience in your field. That being said, do you still have student loans at this point in your career? Are non-competes really all that enforceable? What's your funniest did they actually say that story from your career? How do you figure out damages in an employment case? Are there employee rights that apply to freelance contract workers as well? Or do they only apply to employees? I am seeing a lot of news articles about the big tech companies, including Amazon, forcing their employees to move across the country after they were hired remote. Is that sort of thing legal here in the States? I quit my job at the helium factory today. I can float you a few bucks if you need. I figured it would be an uplifting job. At least you left on a high note. You quit. Aren't you worried about inflation? That was not very noble of you. Were you getting high again? I bet getting out of there was a breath of fresh air. Things were blowing up. You can just stay home and watch the Chipmunks movie in your spare time. You shouldn't be making light of the situation. They could have paid better, too. Instead it was like thanks for nothing. Hee. Guess it wasn't the high they were after. A Nobel gesture. You were caught getting high. That's why you had to quit. It looks like the inspiration of that job flew right over your head. I quit because I couldn't get a raise. Inflation just wasn't cutting it with your salary anymore. All the good workers are gone. I saw my doctor last week and he asked me how much marijuana do I smoke? I said, why was that your first question? My wife just looked at me and said, you weren't even listening, were you? I thought, that's a pretty weird way to start a conversation. How high were you during the appointment? Up BC, I chuckled. Did you steal this from that lady on YouTube? I didn't go to medical school just to write scripts for marijuana for every person that wants a toke. Seriously, why would I get a medical degree when it's recreationally legal and I can write scripts for marijuana for every person that wants a toke? I wouldn't. That's why I didn't. Like I said, literally stolen from a comedian that was posted. Least credit the original, you thief. I stole a board game the other day. Sorry. You'll be in trouble soon enough. You don't have a monopoly of these jokes. Sounds like you had a smooth operation. The victim didn't have a clue. Think about what you have done and then strive for perfection. Boggles the mind. Take the other board games too to show your total dominion over their pitiful store. Sounds like no dice. Sorry it led to aggravation. I guess that's just how the game of life goes sometimes. Lots of trouble. I thought I knew who broke into my house, but they stole my boat's games. Now I have no clue. Sorry, but that's the game of life. We all get into trouble at times. It's all a risk. That's life. Glad you got that off your chest. You lost your monopoly and will go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Acquire or steal? I'm gonna suck your tic-tac-toes. That's what happens when boredom sets in. The store owner doesn't have a clue. Ludicrous. Online dating for men is strangely similar to the process of applying for a job. Not really. When applying for a job you have an actual chance to get it. Nope. Have got multiple jobs but never a date. True. You apply to a lot of jobs, you often get no response, or you get that the position is no longer free, and sometimes, you get fucked in the end. A friend of mine compared Tinder to a gotcha game. Not just online dating but regular dating as well, at least initially. No short guys is the equivalent of must have a degree and 5 years experience. The pay is terrible and the hours are long, but the benefits are worth all 23 seconds. Also add you have to pay money to have a better chance in getting a job. I'm looking for work and a relationship. It's a hostile world. People who can afford to pay traffic fines usually can't afford to be late for work appointments either. Lol, I see people speeding past me, cutting me off, running red lights, riding my tail, etc. just to pull into McDonald's drive-through line. Like dang, you all was really ready to kill me and my kids for a McDouble. Poor planning on your part does not necessitate an emergency on mine. I think the people genuinely late are such a small percentage it's not a good argument. Plus, usually, you only save a few minutes. Leave earlier for work appointments? Those people also seem to make poor decisions and leave things to the very last minute. Uh-oh, someone got a ticket today, so they should leave their house on time. Man shrugging. It's called waking up earlier, not endangering other people's lives. The problem here isn't the system. The problem is trying to blame the system on your own poor time management. Porn is the only thing that is in extremely high demand and also free. Air is in pretty high demand. Porn's model is freemium. Most people don't pay, but a small minority of actual addicts pay a lot of money for it. Same as Angry Birds and other freemium games. Ad revenue. Not free. Think of it like broadcast television. Air is also in high demand and free for now. Social media and F2P games have entered the chat. When something is free, you are the product. We, the unpaid providers of porn underpaid, would like to rectify that. It's not free if it consumes time and energy. Ads. 3 bitches near you want to suck lollipop. My wife walked in on me while I was watching porn. In a panic reflex I instantly changed to a random channel, the fishing channel. As my wife walks out again she says you should stay on the porn channel. You know how to fish. Sex robots will be a hit, but robot pets won't really catch on, because people want a pet that really loves them, not people like pets like snakes, fish, gerbils etc. In the future when we have robot pets, people will be asking what is love? Robot pets are the new thing in nursing homes. Look it up, they are super popular now. Well, someone doesn't remember Tamagotchis. Disagree 100. Give me a robot pet tiger that won't eat me and I can ride around, rock on gesture. I'd prefer a pet that doesn't leave piss and shit everywhere personally. Bonus points for being intelligent too, but I want to have a pet octopus that carries me around and isn't slimy or wet. Using my legs to move around is for the birds. Nah, plenty of people still have cats. Can't I just have love at all? Some people love zoos because they love animals. Some people hate zoos because they love animals. Darn good shower thought. I see a lot of half-assed BS here, but you nailed it, worthy. These people have different experiences. Not all zoos are the same. Some strive for conservation, education and rehabilitation. Some don't seem to even know what those concepts are. 40 years ago, zoos were cages full of animals. Now zoos are simulated habitats. I love zoos because I love animals, but I hate myself for loving zoos because I hate zoos because I love animals. Some animals still exist only because of zoos. Till 2 of 920 people survived the Jonestown massacre. Hyacinth, who hid under her bed, and Grover Cleveland Davis, who was 79 years old and hard of hearing. He slept unknowingly throughout the death assembly. It pays off to be a sound sleeper. Other people also survived, including one of Jim Jones' adopted sons. They were in town when the killing happened. There is a very, very good documentary on YouTube, but I think it is in pieces if you look for it. It is pretty graphic about the and other abuse that happened in the cult. Till a French hospital was partially cleared out after an 88-year-old man came in with a World War I shell lodged in his anus. Normalize men buying sex toys so they don't feel like they have to resort to checks. Notes: unexploded World War I ordnance. 1,000,000 to 1 shot doc. Note to self: make sure sticking an explosive round up my butt is the final item on my bucket list. Everything is a dildo if you are brave enough. Probably needed poppers instead of a poppy. Doctor: how long has it been? And it's been in there since 1945. Doctor: oh my god. Patient: it's only 22:30 now. Man is a Chad for telling the truth instead of saying he accidentally dropped on it. Next, on Grey's Anatomy. Imagine how many things you have to shove up your ass before you are so abjectly bored with shoving things up your ass that you look at an artillery shell and start to get a chub. These things happen. Till crab rangoons aren't related to Chinese cuisine, and were instead invented in an American tiki bar by someone trying to give a new appetizer a suitably Asian-sounding name, and then reappropriated by Chinese American restaurateurs as a staple appetizer. I don't care who came up with it, I'm just glad they did. Pro tip: if it's got cream cheese in it, it's probably not traditional Asian cuisine. Also, Rangoon isn't even in China. Score another culinary masterpiece for the good old US of A. Fun fact: in Taichung, Taiwan, the first American Chinese food restaurant was just opened recently, which features a pretty typical menu you'd find in the States. Every item is foreign to the locals. To defend American Chinese food, I want to mention many traditional Chinese food is not really that much older. One thing for sure is American Chinese food fits more to the taste of Americans rather than Chinese. Wait until you hear about fortune cookies. Till in 1956, France banned the serving of alcohol to children under the age of 14 in the school canteens. Prior to that, school children had the right to drink half a liter of wine, cider or beer with their meals. In 1981, France implemented a total alcohol ban in the country's schools. Google's how big a wine glass is. So unless they watered that down, that's like 3 alcoholic drinks per day equivalent of wine for a middle schooler. Damn government. Always overstepping. Gym class would have been way more fun drunk. And did they also get a couple of skinny cigarettes to go with the digestif? In response, some parents would send their kids to school with wine, or made sure they had some before they went to school. Class: come on. My last paycheck bounced. My children need wine. Vive la France. Till in 2001, an American computer engineer emailed Saddam Hussein and received a 10-page personal reply. You'd be surprised how friendly celebrities are. It's interesting that in October 2001, They still thought over 5,000 had died. I'm pretty sure that gets you on a list. Or more like, all of the S going to be randomly screened for life. This post inspired me to read Saddam's full response, found here. Honestly, now I'm not sure what to believe. What a trip. Till that a previous rough cut of the 1980 comedy movie Airplane was 115 minutes. After it was previewed at 3 college campuses and 2 movie theaters, the filmmakers trimmed the movie down to 88 minutes due to audience feedback. Much as I love Airplane and would love to see the deleted scenes, it seems like you wouldn't want a movie like that to drag. Then again, I'm one to prefer a short-ass movie or lack of feedback, as if the filmmakers would do is place a tape recorder in the theater, then play it back to listen for which jokes got laughs, and which didn't. Any joke that didn't earn a laugh got the way, it was going to be trimmed down. There's no way Michael Eisner would let them release a low-budget comedy nearly 2 hours long. 90 minutes was a pretty standard target runtime for comedies in those days. Restore the footage. But do we have the other cut? It must be an entirely different kind of film, altogether. Till the CG director of Silent Hill, Takayoshi Sako, created all the game's cutscenes by himself. He used the office's 150 computers to render the scenes after all the other employees left for the night. He also slept under his desk and lived at the office for the 3 years it took him to finish. Finally, a work-from-home plan executives can get behind. Yeah, maybe Japanese work culture isn't that great. Maybe the real Silent Hill was the labor abuse we found along the way. Least overworked Japanese man. He lived the horror every night for years, doing a George Costanza to make the game. This should always be frowned upon. No job is worth that. No computer game is worth that. This man let himself be exploited, and it's presented as an interesting fact. It is interesting, but in a sad, pathetic kind of way. Today you all learned about the visual effects industry. The CEO of a company was in need of a secretary. The CEO was impressed, but in the end hired the woman with the large breasts. You had me at dog. I love this, made my evening for sure. Thank you all. I started reading the joke, but my eyes glanced at the meow before I read the entire joke. And consider too much NSFW joke readings. I somehow was guessing a different reference for meow and secretary, winking face, zany face. Much more wholesome than I expected. A joke starting with the CEO of a company was in need of a secretary to eyes even instinctively looked for an NSFW tag. Nice one. Was worried it might end up NSFW, but it feels very wholesome. That's a good one. I was laughing hard imagining the dig saying meow. I know how that dog feels. I'm bilingual and there's a great demand for bilinguals, but my second language is German. The priest angrily asks the altar boy standing 2 meters away. I was expecting a dirty joke when I read priest and altar boy in the title. I'm both pleasantly surprised and disappointed. Didn't know one joke could do that. The money was just resting in his account. Did this one just go right over my head? Priest tries to demonstrate the sins of addiction during one of his puts a jar filled with alcohol, cigarette smoke, and chocolate on a table and proceeds to put a worm into each container. Eventually all the worms then asks one of the congregation, Ms. Bess, can you tell us all the lesson for today? Ms. Bess, the 80-year-old grandmother, thinks carefully and says, if you drink, smoke, and eat chocolate you won't get worms. The reason hairlessness is the Western standard of beauty is because it's hard to sculpt body hair. Interesting thought. So basically our beauty standards were formed by graphics settings on Greek sculptures. During the Greek and Roman times, people often had hair plucked to remove places for lice to live. Even to the point of shaven hair and wigs, and some merkins wouldn't really exist in classic medieval times without a pliation, especially Greeks. Imagine how hairy those sculptures would be if they could have done it. If that was true, tiny penises would also be our standard of beauty. I disagree. I think it's the obsession with youth. As I understand it, the ancient Greek and Roman statues were painted, so they could have depicted body hair if they wanted. I recall hearing that body hair has gone in and out of fashion throughout human history and geography. We're just in one of the baby smooth phases. I thought it was the Egyptians who compared hairlessness to purity. The word baby in songs almost never refers to an actual baby. It would be super creepy if it did refer to actual babies. Even Swedish pop group Ace of Base intended for baby and all that she wants is another baby to mean boyfriend. When I was a kid I thought the song that goes I need to know, tell me baby girl cause I need to know was about a guy aggressively interrogating an infant. What? Surely the Beatles sang We're Shaking a Baby Now and Twist and Shout, and Britney sung about her little brat hitting her one more time. Baby Shark Duddy Doo. Begs to differ. There's a song about a dude who's super happy that she's having his baby. I can't remember any lyrics or who wrote it though. You make a good point. Off the top of my head, the only exception I can think of is Somebody's Baby by Pat Benatar. There are a bunch of people out there who unknowingly played Counter-Strike with Osama bin Laden. Every random I meet on CS is probably connected to a terrorist organization. So there's a whole bunch of people who hit him in the head and teabagged him. So that's who Zero Samabin Trapin was. And here I am, still trying to get my mom to understand words with friends. I thought his system was connected to his allies, not the general servers. Someone out there probably traded Pokemon with him and seen his Animal Crossing town. Flushed face. I see that you two read that particular comment on that particular post last night. I wonder how many terrorists Osama stopped from detonating the bomb in CS. Or did he leave the game instantly when placed on the counter-terrorist team? I sometimes think about if I ever may have been murked by a younger Henry Cavill after learning he was Alliance trash and played on the same server as me. I was not a PvP guy. He probably used the AWP like a noob. There exists a single most obvious invention which we have yet to invent. There are things that have been invented long before they were needed and so no one knows they exist. The fax machine was developed in the 1800s but didn't catch on until the 1960s. There was one of these recently, the old screw elevator. You know screw elevators for, like, grain in silos? They put a tube around that and rotate the tube. This prevents air from getting in and makes the whole thing a lot less flammable. No more silo explosions. Probably resealable cereal bags. A stop button on a printer that immediately stops printing instead of continuing to print 7.19 more pages. Being able to deselect an elevator floor button that you pressed. Boom, mistake. We're living in the 20s of the 2000s. We're going to look as primitive by the 2090s as the people of the 1920s looked in the 1990s. In the 1920s, the 1890s were romanticized and called the gay 90s. People looked back fondly as a time where life was simpler, alcohol was legal, no income tax, etc. There was even a trend of books and plays published set in the 1890s. That's not always a linear progression. I didn't think of people in the 1920s were primitive. Or maybe we are the peak of civilization and technology. The people of 2090 might envy us in our lives while they are miserable in their own time, hopefully, but it's not a guarantee. Society could collapse, solar flare, nuclear war, virus outbreak, ecological collapse, climate change, etc. We're pretty lucky that semen is edible. Thank you for telling me you were sucking dick without actually telling me. Anything is edible if you have a small enough amount. And anything is lethal if you have enough. Everything is edible at least one time. The real question is whether it's a food, a drink, or soup. What's this wee crap? How is it surprising that semen would be edible? I'm partly disappointed and partly glad it doesn't have a fanfare when it turns up. Imagine a big ol' ta-da every time a bloke fired one. You're back at home for a few days where your parents when you have teenage sons. Or you hear that sound when in a shop, or worse, a restaurant. I wish they offered it as a salad dressing in restaurants. If it wasn't, I feel like natural selection would eventually help out here. How hard is food to find where you live? There's a book on Amazon called Natural Harvest which has actual recipes that use semen as an ingredient. What early internet website did Gen Z really miss out on? While it wasn't specifically a website, stumble upon back in its early days. Albino black sheep also comes to mind. GeoCities. GeoCities is the very definition of the old internet. Creativity was king. Your identity was irrelevant. You were both allowed and encouraged to be a total amateurish goof. You could refrain from posting for months or years on end, and if your content was good, people would still come back. Homestar Runner. I miss the AOL chat rooms. I would be on them all night long getting into discussions over any possible subject. The uncouth version of Pirate Bay. Before government understood what piracy was. The prime of. The infinite is possible at Zombocom. What horror movie is a 10/10? Scooby-Doo on Zombie Ice said it. Alien, The Thing, The Changeling with George C. Scott. It's one of those slow burns that creeps to the core. The first Saw is actually really clever. An unpopular opinion perhaps, but to me, it was Towhee. Others loved it and I saw it years ago. The Og the Ring, 28 Days Later. Let the Right One In. The First Scream, mine. The Thing 1982. Train to Busan. Cabin in the Woods. 28 Days Later. Evil Dead 2, The Thing. Or Alien, Contagion. Not because of any brilliant story acting cinematography, rather it was somewhat mocked for being unrealistic about a global pandemic back in 2011 and yet it was eerily accurate when compared to COVID. Watching that movie again hits different today versus release. Silence of the Lamb. What kind of shoes do kidnappers wear? Sneakers. Damn Danielle. Nah, I'm wearing Nikes. What? I mean, I don't know. That's dad AF. Well done. I would have thought black Vans. What happened to the candy? Angry upvote. Generally kids don't wear shoes when napping, and dog thieves wear hush puppies. Slutskin loafers. I'm from Wisconsin. Thought it would be steel-toed boots. But that must be the petty thief instead of the kidnappers. Dodge Vans. Crocs. Well, I buy mass-produced shoes well in advance, and I make sure to get rid of them soon after, and that seems to work. It also helps to pack chloroform. That first time with the chlorophyll was a disaster. I suppose the cops that catch them would wear gumshoes. What type of car did Jesus drive? He drove a Honda, but doesn't talk about 1249 NIV. For I did not speak of my own accord, but his disciples were all in one accord. An El Camino. Every Jesus I know wants one of those. I would have thought it would have been a Crosstrek. I thought he drove a Ford, seeing as how he walked everywhere. It was all he could afford. Jesus Chrysler supercar. I don't know, but Pontiac Pilate condemned him. Jesus built my hot rod. He forgave sins. He gives mercy day. The Catholic Church is after this guy. I guess some form of convertible. Triumph is the brand. This word appears 72 times in the Bible, so Triumph Spitfire, Triumph Dolomite, Triumph Stag, Triumph Herald, Triumph 2.5 DC, Triumph Renown, Triumph GT6 and Triumph Mayflower. Ha 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 P.K., but the proctologist? A brown probe. What's a dead giveaway that someone is not actually as wealthy as they claim? As a person which knows many very rich people, I can guarantee that not a single one of them wants to be known as rich. Making the claim at all is a dead giveaway. 90 of the wealthy shut the fuck about it, because they learn once they start making good money everyone wants a piece. X200B. Talking about it constantly broke AF. People who actually are wealthy mostly try to hide it. When they constantly talk about how wealthy they are. A genius doesn't need to tell you they are athlete, doesn't need to tell you they are a rich person, shouldn't need to tell you they are wealthy. Ever notice how those jet-setting influencers that post their pictures out of the airplane window are behind the wing? They're in coach. The picture in business is where they stop to pose on the way through. What's the only thing vegans are allowed to kill? Joy. Are vegans called in the wild? Prey. Each other? Asking for a friend. Plants. Bacteria. Fungi. Cancer cells. Cordon bleu. Time. Their taste buds. Blunts. Ganja is vegan. Time. I murdered your mom's pussy last night and then ate some roasted broccoli and tofu. A good time. This thread already killed itself. How do you know if someone is a T-worry? They'll fucking tell you. The mood. Their curiosity. Themselves by poor nutrition. The lights. Vegans are great, but you have to cook them just right. My appetite. Dreams. Just like my dream killer ex-wife. Happiness. Buzz. Your appetite. Time. The mood. The scenery. The joys of life. Each other. My patience. What's the difference between vegans and telemarketers? Some people don't mind speaking to telemarketers. Which country produces the worst tourists? China. They have no concept of personal space. My buddy was a hotel concierge in Vegas and we asked him this. He said Chinese tourists are generally the rudest, but Russians cause the biggest real problems. Basically, Chinese tourists will cut people in line and leave messes around, but Russians will do shit that require police to be involved. China just for general for being absolute violent, stunted oafs. As an American, God, I'm so thankful other countries are getting dragged for something. Finally. Lol. Two countries share the #1 spot, Russia and China. I heard someone working for an airline said they hate dealing with the French, they complain and ask for compensation a lot. While in an elevator I asked my girlfriend to marry me. Uplifting joke. Did she go down? Things are starting to escalate. She said no, apparently I'm always pushing her buttons. I'm starting to understand the gravity of the situation. For the next 5 years our relationship was up and down. I hope you were prepared for the letdown. I was glad you didn't get that sinking feeling. I tried to have sex in an elevator with my girlfriend one time, but it was a disaster. It got stuck. She was floored with the surprise proposal. Good luck. As someone who's been married for years, I'll warn you, marriage has its ups and downs. Good thing she said yes, or that could have been a downer. I worked in the elevator business for years, but ultimately couldn't handle it. Too much up and down. That's good. I feared she would let you down. Such an expensive ring. You must have gotten it during a hoist. Some call it a stairway to heaven. Who are some people you know personally, or otherwise, who ruin their own lives, and how? Staying in bad relationships, doubling down and marrying and having children. Now they have the same relationship problems that they had 10 years ago, but with children involved. I know someone with 8 kids by 7 different guys. All boys. And she still wants a girl. The kids call every new guy dad. I'm pretty sure she had 7 kids by the time she was 25. She's in her 30s now. She'll never end up with a decent guy. Poor kids. They all have goofy names that rhyme. I'm talking names that nobody else on the planet has. You can bowl 22 strikes in a row and not get a 300 game. And if you bowl a spare, then 3 strikes, then another spare, it's a turkey sandwich. Isn't 12 strikes in a row a perfect game? I've seen someone do this, but it was 18 or so, not 22. Used to bowl for around 7-8 years while younger. Best 11 in a row in a career. Best overall strikes in a row 14. Still quite sad I did not hit 300. This entire post is in an alien language to me. Isn't it 23 if it spans across 2 games? Once did 17 in a row across 2 games. But still looking for that first perfect game. I once threw a 9 in the first frame and then 11 straight X's for a 290. My best ball of the next game was a strike. Crazy.